What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another video here on Ty Drives. My name is Ty behind the camera as always, and this is the 2021 Audi A4 in the 40 TFSI powertrain in the premium trim level with the convenience package. So in this video, we're going to kind of take a walk around the outside of that car, and then we're going to start with under the hood, see what that looks like. We'll move our way to the trunk area, the rear seats, and finally check out what's in the front driver's area. And then make sure you stay tuned for the end of the video because we're going to be taking this car out for a test drive. I'm going to strap the GoPro to my head and we'll see what it's like to drive the A4 with the smaller, or I should say the least power output 2-liter turbo inline 4. So this car makes about 201 horsepower. The 45 TFSI, which is, I guess you could say, the larger power output 4-cylinder, makes closer to 260 horsepower. But details of the exterior on this car, we can start out front with the headlamps. Now the premium trim level is pretty much the base model of the A4, but you still get full LED headlights, so high and low beams are LED. You also have LED daytime running lights and your turn signals up there. We also have some nice trim down below with the sensor for the front assist. Some nice silver trim. And the Audi grille here too, also accented in that sort of matte silver trim color with the Audi rings and the Quattro logo. And you also have parking sensors too up front. Nice long hood and some pretty sharp creases on there as well. Kind of slopes down towards the grille. And this car has the 18-inch wheel package, which gives you these really good looking 18-inch wheels. Now from 2017 to I believe 2019, you could get these wheels, but they were all kind of in a silver painted finish. But for the 2020 and 21 model year, you can get these in sort of the machine finish on the face of the wheel and this metallic sort of gray color on the spokes. I think it looks really good. And the tires measure 245/40. You can see the various body lines coming from the hood, ending up into the quarter panel and trunk. And then there's also one that goes down the doors as well. You have chrome surrounding the windows, the sunroof up top, and shark fin antenna. Mirror has the LED turn signals indicators, and the blind spot monitor is on the inside. You can see the door handles. All 4 of them have the smart key sensors with the little indentation there. Out back, same deal as out front, fully LED, so the tail lights, brake lights, turn signals, even the reverse lights are all LED on this car. I have the A4 badging, again parking sensors and exhaust outlets. This nice chrome strip that kind of starts in the tail lights and goes all the way around. And we are finally met with our Quattro badging. So what do we think of the styling on this car? And this is kind of a more basic, I guess you could say, trim level of the A4. The premium with the convenience package is kind of the most popular option. So I wanted to do this car to show you guys both the smaller output engine and sort of the more popular trim level of the A4. Alright, so under the hood on the A4 40 TFSI looks very familiar to the 45 TFSI, and that's because it's really basically the same engine, just a little bit of a different tuning software. Still a super smooth engine, and it's also, as you can see, the alternator is hooked up with the mild hybrid electric sort of assistance, I guess you could say. And it's also, the motor is also hooked up to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. But taking a look around the engine bay, it's very neat and clean. You kind of know where everything is. It's very familiar looking if you've ever seen the underhood of an A4. You have the coolant reservoir over here, air box over there, and you also have battery connections up front. And this motor is rated at 201 horsepower, 236 pound-feet of torque, so still plenty of power. Alrighty, starting off the interior portion of the video, we can start in the trunk. As you can see, if you tap the button on the key fob, the trunk has some nice springs that launch the door open so that you don't have to lift it open yourself. Pretty good amount of space in here too, and you have extensions to each side. You can see with the net. And you can also see the split in the seats. You can fold them a 40, 20, 40. You have lighting back here. This is LED, and you also have grocery bag hangers. The carpeted mats and all weather mats are back here too that come with the vehicle. And you can open up the cargo floor and see that you have the battery below the spare tire. To close the trunk, they give you one handle on each side, so you just grab one of those and lower it right on down. Next, we can check out the rear. So black color scheme on this car, of course black leather. On the door panels, you have nice soft to the touch materials up here and even down here. And then it's even softer down here where your arm is going to rest. You have some open pore wood trim, your door handle with some metallic work, and the window switch. 10 speakers in this car, and that is the most basic audio system you can get. You have one of those, or maybe even two of those speakers on the rear door, and a little bit of storage. The rear seats fold down with this lever right on top. And they fold pretty much flat to the rear cargo floor. So sitting back here, I have a couple of inches of legroom, and that's due to in part these cutouts in the rear. I'm about 5'10", and I kind of sit pretty far back, but that's about how much legroom you'd have if you're about my size. Not a whole lot of room back here for the center passenger though. You could definitely fit a center passenger back here, but they're going to be a little bit tight. You have grab handles and LED lighting back here. The sunroof is a little bit on the large side, so you can even look out that when you're seated back here. You also have a nice armrest that you could fold down. Individual cup holders. It looks like you have to have a straw though when you use these cup holders. And a little bit of storage. You also have the release for the pass-through under here, and you could fold that right on down too. But next, let's go ahead and see what the driver's cockpit looks like. Very solid doors on this A4 as well. Driver's door has a pretty much same design as out back. Same materials as well. You have the wood, the metallic, soft touch, and leather where your arm's going to rest. You have individual child locks, your mirror and window controls, and a trunk release. A little bit more storage on the bottom as well. On the left of the dash, you have an air vent, your all-weather lighting, your regular headlight controls, and your gauge dimmer that you could pop out and adjust. And our hood release, pedals, and the release for the tilt telescoping steering wheel. Really nice contrast stitching that they give you on this car. You can see it especially on the headrests. These are actually four-way headrests, so they go up and down and in and out as well. And these are sort of the comfort seats. You could also get sport seats as they're a little bit more supportive. Four-way lumbar and full powered seats as well. Alright, so here's the key for the A4. Pretty standard Audi key fob. You have unlock, lock, trunk release, and panic alarm with the little Audi rings on the bottom. On the flip side, you have a pretty cool design, and there's little pinchers to either side, and you could pinch those little buttons in simultaneously, and the physical key will slide out in case you need it. Of course, this car has push button start right over here. It'll start right up. First things first, let's check out the steering wheel. Pretty nice design and small airbag cover. I really like the design of the steering wheel they put on the A4. But as far as buttons go, we have these buttons over here on the left side for the virtual part of the gauge cluster, and some media controls over here, so skipping between your tracks and volume, Bluetooth and voice commands. And you also have the heated steering wheel, which is part of the convenience package. Behind the steering wheel and mounted to it, you have these paddle shifters, which are pretty nice. And you also have a couple of stalks to the left side, which control your turning signals and high beams, as well as a button at the end for the lane keeping assist. Really nice to see that a lower end A4 comes with the lane keep. And you also have this stalk over here for the cruise control. It's not an adaptive cruise control, just a regular one. One last stalk you also have for the wipers. And here we have our gauges up here. So once you step up to the Premium Plus, you'll get the digital, the full digital cluster. However, this is actually pretty good too, because in the center you have a full colored screen in there, and it gives you pretty much the same information you would as if you had the full cluster, just really a little bit of a smaller scale. So we can use the back and forth and the scroller wheel to see what we have in here. We have instant and average fuel economy, things like short and long-term memory, pretty neat energy consumption screen, and also your driver's assistance screen there as well. If we move over, we could see the radio, and we also have different settings that we could go through within the screen there. And lastly, we have a phone screen as well. So pretty cool, various things in there. Obviously, the virtual cockpit will get a little bit more in depth, and it also looks a bit nicer too. But as you can see, you have the coolant temp over there, gas gauge over there, and then two large tachometer and speedometers. Upper dash is nice, soft to the touch. You have a center channel speaker up there. And here we have the pretty large touchscreen that we now get in the A4. Pretty nice looking. This is kind of your home screen. You could choose what you'd like to see in the three different quadrants. So we have the radio screen, telephone, and navigation. And you can also change them if you'd like. We have different keys over here, bringing you to sort of a jumbulation menu over here, just to see all of your different menus. As you can see, the touchscreen is very responsive. It's also sort of like a capacitive touch button. You know, if you just tap it like normal, it won't click, but you actually have to give it a little bit of force, like an actual button. You have all of your sources over here for the radio. You have media, phone, and navigation. And when you click navigation in a premium model, it'll just let you know that you haven't spent enough money to get built-in navigation on the Premium Plus model. Of course, you do actually have navigation with this car as long as you have an Apple CarPlay Android Auto compatible device, and that button is right here for that. You also have the vehicle menus here, which you can pull up your drive select. They give you 4 different driving modes, which is pretty nice: comfort, auto, dynamic, and an individual, which you can control the drive mode and the steering feel. Couple of different things in your vehicle menu too that you go through. You have favorites, which you could change, and your system settings. Again, as you can see, there's a few different things that you can fool around with in the settings menu. And you could also swipe from the top like a tablet to get more of those screens there, such as your audio adjustments. So we're not going to get crazy in depth with this user interface because it's just going to take too long. But there's kind of just like an overview so you guys get the gist of the screen there. Now you have a couple of air vents, and in the middle you have the hazards light. Very simple climate control, and it looks very nice as well. You have the 2 temperatures on the either sides, and they double as the adjusters. And it's actually a 3-zone climate control, so you didn't see it when the car was off, but there's a little small screen on the back of the center console for the rear seats, and you can adjust the temperature back there. And we have the defrosters, the 3-stage heated seats for both the front passenger and the driver. And when you tap on these, we'll sort of rest your finger on the central controls, the more menus pops up, and you could see the different things that you can control before you switch it. So you can see the fan speed is in the center. You can change where the air comes out. And again, it is a 3-zone climate control, and you can customize the rear as well. Down below that, we have a couple of buttons for the quick drives mode select, auto start stop on and off, traction control on and off, and we could pull up the backup camera and or turn off the parking sensors with that button right there. And then we could just turn the top screen off if we'd like. Down below we have a normal USB. I like that they haven't converted to the USB-Cs because I don't have any USB-C connectors yet. You also have a 12 volt and the start stop button there. Now the only thing I'm really going to complain about in this car is the vast amount of high gloss black. It looks really nice now when the car is brand new. However, you know, once the car gets a couple years old, you drag your keys across this, you get all your fingerprints. It's not going to look so nice a couple years down the road. You're definitely going to have to keep some polish in here so that you can keep the gloss black looking nice. However, you have a couple of cup holders and a little storage console there. Again, 7-speed dual clutch transmission regardless of trim level or engine option. You have the unlock at the side, go all the way down for drive. You have a manual mode once you're there, and you can shift up here or on the paddle shifters all the way up for reverse. And then kind of depending on what gear you're in, you do like a half a click down into neutral or up into neutral. And we have the P right at the top. Electronic parking brake down there. We have the audio volume and skipping over there. And they give you a nice little storage cubby for your key right there. Nice center armrest. You can move it back and forth. And also it'll keep the height for you. USB-C connection in there. Frameless auto dimming and compass rear view mirror up there, and some LED tap lights. We have various SOS controls and maintenance things, also some lighting controls up there. Nice gray headliner too, a very nice quality to the cloth. And as you could see, the sunshade blocks 100% of the light until you open it up. And you have the same sunroof controls for both tilt and slide. One more thing I'd like to point out before we get this thing out on the road is the visors. So we got these nice visors up here that we can extend to the side. and they also have mirrors and a light. But that's the last thing. Let's get this thing out on the road and see how this car drives. All right, so getting the A440 out onto the road, we're immediately going to do turning circle test. Obviously, this being a little bit on the smaller side of the sedan, it does really good, especially with something with four-wheel drive. You don't feel it skipping or hopping when you turn the wheel. That's nice. But throughout this drive, we're going to get a feel for it. This is kind of like a back road that we're going to go on to a more of a main road, get it up to 45-50 miles an hour for just a little bit, and we'll turn it onto a back road and see what this car feels like over the bumps with the suspension and through the turns with the suspension as well, and the steering. I have the car in auto mode, so it's gonna kind of adapt to the way that I'm driving. And when we do our acceleration test, I'll drop it into dynamic, see if that makes a difference. So first things first, me working at an Audi dealer, I've actually never driven one of these A4s with the smaller engine, I guess you could say. So this will be a good first time experience for both of us. Immediately, the steering wheel on the A4 is extremely comfortable. The first thing that I do when I get in a car is make sure that my 10 and 2 and 9 and 3 grips are comfortable, and it's very comfy, because that's where I hold the steering wheel most, at least. So let's drop it down into dynamic, and we'll see what this car's like on acceleration. We'll get it to 25. We'll punch it and see what the transmission does. Yeah, so I was a little bit worried when I saw the 201 horsepower figure there on this car, but it's actually no slouch at all. This car's got pretty good power. It's about 236 pound-feet of torque, like I said earlier as well, so good amount of torque with this car, and you should not have a problem with power with this car. And it's not that much slower than the A445, which is about a little more than 260 horsepower. We didn't get a really chance to talk about how it was up at 45-50 miles an hour, and that is extremely stable and quiet. As you can see, we're going over quite a few bumps here. Not quite at the speeds we were going before, but just very quiet in here. The 18-inch wheels help out with that quietness because they're not overly sized, and they also help out with the ride quality. And that's really the big difference that I see between Volkswagen and Audi products, is the quality of ride. I go from my daily driver, which is a 2019 Jetta GLI, and then I go to this car, and it is a world of difference with ride quality. And I had touched on a little bit earlier that this car is a sort of mild hybrid. And what that system really does is it kind of aids with the auto start stop system. So it keeps the motor running for a little bit less while than it needs to. So if you're rolling to a stoplight, it'll shut the engine off, and the mild hybrid system will power all of the interior electrics and make sure the air conditioning is still going, while the engine is shut off for a little bit longer periods of time. slippery section of the road, and the A4 does just fine with soaking up all the bumps. It's a very comfortable ride. The steering feel is all right too. It's not super heavy, you don't feel everything, but it's got a decent weight to it. Even in auto mode, as I should point out that we're in now. Round this corner, make a right onto this road here. Kind of toss it into a corner and see what it feels like. So if you get any body roll, anything that's worth mentioning. Now, one thing that I would love to mention is from 2017 to 2019, the A4s were pretty much the same. 2019 they came out with like different bumpers and things like that, but pretty much the same car. But in 2020 is when they did like an official facelift, and this is this car. So let's see what we could do here in the corner. Pretty composed in the corner, a little bit of body roll as you'd expect, but pretty good feeling in the corner. But as I was saying, 2020 and 2021, we see the facelift version, which comes with a new touchscreen and various different styling. And also, one thing I would like to point out is the refinement of the transmission. Same transmission, however, they've done something to it, and it is a lot more smooth now. And I mean quite a bit more smooth. In the 2017 to 2019 A4s, you used to feel going into first through third gear. And then it kind of smoothed out after that. You know, whatever they did with this dual clutch now, you can barely feel it. You really can't. And usually with dual clutches, you get that sort of jerky feeling. And A4 did a good job of that in its early sort of B9 generation years, but this is taking it to a whole new level. You know, whatever these Audi engineers did to the transmission to make it more smooth, they did a flawless job. It really no longer feels like a herky-jerky dual clutch transmission. It feels more like a traditional torque converter transmission, but you still get those lightning quick shifts. We're gonna do one more acceleration going up the hill, and once we come to a stop, I'm gonna put it in manual mode and we'll see how fast the paddle shifters react. Yeah, so pretty much immediate. Really good power. I thought this thing was going to be lacking a little bit, but you know, I would even say, you know, save the money. Save the money. This is a great motor to choose. So, kind of just wrapping up my thoughts on the A4. This is such a great all-around car. You know, you have a pretty good amount of space on the interior, definitely up front. You know, if you're a little bit taller, the rear seats might be a pinch if you've got people in there every day, but it's really nothing to worry about. You know, this car is it's a good size. You've got plenty of features here, even in the sort of base model with the convenience package. That's really all you need is the you know, unless you want the cool doodads, you know, the full digital cockpit and the Bang & Olufsen speakers, you know, unless you want all that stuff, but it's really not necessary. This car is equipped very nicely. But yeah, those are my thoughts and my drive with the 2021 A4 40 TFSI in the premium trim. This car stickers for around $46,000 too, so it's a pretty good bang for your buck. You get quite a bit of features, and that's pretty much it for this drive and review. As always, I thank you guys for watching, and stick with us here at Ty Drives for more reviews and drives just like this one.